There are shows in this world that we will never fully understand, except Ghost Adventures. We have watched every episode to build our obsession, our fandom, watching alongside each other because no one we know really gives a damn. Watching Zach and crew catch groundbreaking proof of the paranormal, inspiring us to explore our own interest in otherworldly phenomena. This is our podcast. We are Paranormal Putas.
Hey, everybody, it's Bethany.
And it's Leah.
And Leah is crying.
I knew you were going to tell the world.
Well, duh. This is a show. We have to expose everything.
Okay, I'm crying, like for real. But here's why. So right before we hit record to do this episode, there was like a major light flicker in the room and it scared the shit out of me. It was just so weird. Like as soon as we hit record, light flicker and I like instantly cry.
It was a pulse of energy.
It really was.
It came through the room, like everything flickered, like the roadcaster flickered, the lights flickered. Like it was just a blip in time.
And it's a dark, rainy day out, so it was too much. It's too much for me. But here we are to discuss a little Ghost Adventures with you.
Yeah, it was the perfect day to watch this one. Today we visited season 1 episode Moundsville Penitentiary.
Woo! And it was a good one.
Oh, I think this was my favorite so far. So Moundsville is in West Virginia, and the guys go to investigate this penitentiary where there are tortured souls locked in this prison. And yeah, I think Leah's got a little much better things to say than I ever do. So,
what I want to start the history with is a quote from Zach. He calls this place a place where we sent the worst of humanity, and really that comes down to it's documented or it's notated on the episode that there's upwards of 1,000 prisoners that were subject to stabbings, murders, suicides, executions. Was actually dubbed in the top 10 most violent correctional facilities in the U.S. I think somebody noted in the interview the most bloody institutions of the United States in its 119-year history. So that's saying something. In 119 years to be dubbed the most bloody institution
and violent correctional facility.
That's wild. Like a lot of stuff happening. We hear some of the stories that contribute to why the Moundsville Penitentiary was called this. And I think one of them was from a passerby.
Oh, are we talking about Mr. Richardson?
We're talking Mr. Richardson.
Oh, I think it was Tom, right? Tom, yes. Yeah, Tom Richardson. He is the best. So the cool thing I thought about this episode is that the guys go out and kind of canvas the area, which I don't think we've really seen them do. Yeah. They go out and canvas. They're knocking on doors and knocking down old men. And they're asking people, so they're roaming the streets with their equipment and gear, and this dude pulls up in his little red car, and what'd you say, a Ohio State trucker cap.
He's wearing his Ohio State hat.
And he rolls by, and he's like, "Hey, what y'all doing?"
It's the perfect entrance and introduction to Mr. Tom Richardson, who goes on to tell the guys that he was actually incarcerated in that location from, 1967 to 1983. And note, this penitentiary was actually closed in 1995. So...
yeah, he was in there for, 9 years or something?
Right.
I just love that, when Zach asked about it, have you heard of, the Moundsville Penitentiary? He was like, I was in there. like straight up, like it's like he sniffed the crew out. And he was like, "Ooh, they're over there." It's like it must be Moundsville's claim to fame or something, because everybody was so convinced that it was haunted. They've had experiences there. I think someone said, what did that dude say? He said something like, "If you want to see a ghost, you go where there are like lots of dead, like where a lot of people have died."
Yeah,
and he's like, "And that's here."
Yeah.
You know, it was all so very intense. Everyone was super intense about it, which made for really fun pre-investigation.
Yeah, and I think to add to Bethany's point when she mentioned how they're canvassing the area, we want to note this penitentiary, this huge facility, is really like smack dab in the middle of a neighborhood. Like you could throw a rock from your front yard and you're in the penitentiary yard, and that's where they go to interview some of these people. So we meet Tom. Bethany mentioned, if y'all caught it, that they're knocking over old people. They're going door to door, and they come across an elderly man by the name of Richard, who was apparently an old guard there many years ago. And no lie, so Zach knocks on the door. This man identifies himself, and Zach's like, "Hey, we heard you were a guard at the penitentiary," and he falls straight back. Like his knees don't bend. He just like stiff as a board falls back. And Zach's like, it was very sad, but also very funny. And Zach's like, "Oh my goodness," and like helps this man up, and the man's like, "I have no balance." Like, don't worry about it. But it was kind of funny to see. But he goes on to tell Zach how he was there during times where there were a lot of riots, so he definitely witnessed some of that bloodshed there at Moundsville.
Yeah, that so famously happened.
Yeah, so some more of the history, we can come back to Tom really quick, because he mentioned while he was there, an inmate was murdered by being placed, and I quote, "in a pot of brown beans, and they cooked him till his meat came off."
Yeah.
And
I wrote that quote down. He said that they cooked him until his meat came off.
that is brutal. And the fact that, okay, you imagine you're being put into a pot of beans. Like you're screaming, you're yelling for your life. There's bound to be a guard nearby somewhere that's hearing this, but still that man was in that pot of beans long enough for his flesh to fall off of his bones. That is fucking crazy.
I ain't touching them frijoles.
No.
Get them away from me.
I don't want them. That goes into the history, but a big one and a big focus of the investigation was an inmate by the name of R.D. Wall. Now, it's noted that Mr. Wall was apparently a snitch, and we all know snitches get stitches. But in RD's case, he was taking a deuce. Some inmates came down, found him. They then cut off his fingers, and just for shits and giggles, they cut off his head. So he was decapitated, fingers removed, and of course he died there on site. But since his passing, people in that area have claimed to see face apparitions, lots of noises, scratching, things like that, down in what is called the Sugar Shack, which is apparently the recreational area for the penitentiary.
Yeah. And that is where I think it was, the internal coordinator or ex-internal coordinator, Tom Stiles, takes Zach down into the Sugar Shack.
I'll take Zach to the Sugar Shack.
Wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all?
I'm a creep.
Yeah, me too. But Zach is like ultimate bae in this episode. We'll get to that later, but he's looking real sharp in this one. Real good, real clean. Anyways. So they go down to the Sugar Shack, and Tom tells him that this is where he was like doing some work one day, and then he felt like something grab his arm, and that like freaked him out. So the Sugar Shack seemed to have like a lot of paranormal activity going down in there.
What Bethany just mentioned, and Artie and Tom Richardson seeing some people get cooked in some beans, that really sets the tone for the investigations. And the guys are really hype to go in there, and they get some really good stuff.
Yeah, I love how intense just the interviews were. And then as they're getting ready to start the lockdown portion, Zach tells the crew that he wants no lights on, like not even the camera lights on, because the only light that they ever have is maybe like a little camera spotlight or something.
Right.
But he was like, no, we're going pure night vision. So it's just the night vision cams. That's the only light they have. And he mentioned that he wanted to like sneak up on the ghosts. Like he wanted to give them no warning through the lights that they were coming, and which also again added to the intensity of the mood of this episode. So I think that brings us to
Honorable haunts.
and skimpy scales.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments, honorable haunts and skimpy scares. For me, just a quick blanket statement. I don't got a lot of skimpies.
Yeah, this one was so flippin' good.
Oh yeah, lots of meat in this one. Real
Yeah.
juicy.
So let's get them skimps out the way.
Yeah, I really don't think I even had
You
one
didn't have
skimp.
any? I had one. And again, this is just how I am. Anytime you experience something and I don't, it's skimpy for me. So Zach hears some footsteps a little earlier on, but they didn't capture them. He even mentions that they turned on the equipment too late. Like they were trying to capture it and they just didn't. And then there was also like, I think like Nick and Zach saw a figure walk by like in front of them. And again, they just didn't have the equipment pointed in the right direction. It wasn't all on. So they didn't capture anything. The only thing that they detected like a ghost with besides their own eyes was goosebumps. I think like Nick got goosebumps or something.
Yeah, no, I think that's really the only skimpy I had. I actually wrote it at the very bottom of my notes because I didn't think it was even enough to put with my skimpies or my haunts. But yeah, when the guys say that they see something and we don't, womp womps.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt it for a second, but I want to see it too.
I think that was the only skimpy I had.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is exciting because that means we got lots of honorables.
So much meaty stuff.
Oh yeah, you want to kick it off?
Sure. One of the earliest like pieces they get is they get some crazy EMF readings and temperature readings. So the temperature kind of starts at like 68 degrees as they're, reading it. And the EMFs are around like 10. And then as the EMFs start spiking to like 40, the temperature drops to 48 degrees. Yeah. It drops a full 20 degrees in such a short span of time. And Zach notes that, this is usually due to spirit activity, or like that's one of the indicators that a spirit is around is a severe temperature drop.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a theme that remains throughout this investigation with the temperature dropping. Even later when Zach's hanging out in the sugar shack, it gets to a point where it gets so cold so quickly that he sees his breath. And I thought that was pretty cool.
That was crazy.
In regards to the honorable haunts. And even Aaron makes a comment because they leave Zach in there by himself at one point. But before that, Aaron's with him. And Aaron goes, yeah, man, I didn't see your breath a minute ago, but now I see it. Like just to show how quickly with that temperature change that you see Zach's breath. And of course, as Bethany mentioned, that's an indicator for maybe some energies being around. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it was super cool that they captured that. They did capture Zach's like breath.
Yeah, so that was pretty sweet. I think another one for me, and in no particular order, Bethany mentioned they got some really good electromagnetic fields, but they also got some really solid EVPs, so electric voice phenomena. And for me, we got some yelling that happened. So this was in a different part of the penitentiary. Like nobody's over there investigating. They just have an X cam set up, and the camera picks up what sounds like, Zach calls it inmates yelling, but you hear it from a distance, and then you later hear some scratching and some shuffling around in this area. And there's nothing on the screen, but you hear these noises, and that's always really creepy. So I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I thought those EVPs were so good. They got so many good EVPs. I think that was one of the first ones, was just like the unexplained noises and the scream from the other cell and stuff. But they got a couple Class A EVPs.
Yeah.
One of like someone saying, "I'll kill you." Yeah. And then like giggling and then be like, "I'll kill you." And that shit's scary, man.
It's so creepy to hear that. And then you think you're in this penitentiary, again dubbed the most violent.
Ooh.
That thunder was brutal.
That was awesome. So speaking of,
so this place is called the most violent, and then you pick up a grade A EVP saying, "I'll kill you." What? Like, bitch, let me get on out of here. I'm out. And then the like it's really quick, like like I can't even mimic it, thank God, but it was really creepy.
one of my absolute favorite moments in this episode was when Nick like challenges Zach to stay by himself in the hole. And Zach's like, he said, did I say I was a wussy? Like, just hearing Zach say the word wussy is hilarious. Like, I'm not a wuss.
Yeah, no, I love it because there's a chain of events here, right? Everyone's getting ready to leave, or Nick and Aaron are getting ready to leave Zach there because he's not wussy.
Yeah.
But then, like, as he's leaving, Zach's like, wait a minute. And Nick's like, no, there are no wait a minutes. And like closes him into this area, and they just love it. And I think it's really funny that Zach instantly turns into a wussy, essentially. Is like, hold on, wait a minute, guys.
Yeah. It's just so adorable. Like, just it just seems like at this point in time, they're all just like such fun friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And Nick is just like, nah, we're like, anyway, there is no wait a minute. I love that so much.
Oh yeah. What I want to kind of point out there is we're discussing this episode, but we're still watching like some of the new stuff that's coming out. And even recently, Zach was kind of challenged
By Billy.
And
In
he
the
gets
screaming
really
room.
defensive. Like he's like, you saying I won't do it? And this just showed me that Zach's very much the same in that sense. Like
Yeah.
you challenge him or you say he won't do something, he's really quick to be like, watch me. But then he's still like, hold on, wait a minute. What did I just really agree to?
I think in that screaming room, I think they were talking about who went down into like this under area. And it was Aaron and Billy, and Zach was like, no, I went. And they were like, oh, we'll put money on it. And Zach wasn't the one who went. He did interviews instead, and it was just so funny to see that. I just love the camaraderie between all the dudes, regardless of like whether it's Nick or Billy and Jay. Like, they just seem like so much fun.
Oh yeah.
I'm loving this thunder. I'm living for it right now.
It's adding to how great this episode was.
This episode was epic. Okay. I've got another one for you though.
Let me hear it.
There was that moment where they took that picture of Nick and there was like a glowing eyes behind him, or something. It was just so weird.
Yeah, they described it later, and I think it was perfect as like a critter looking kind of thing.
It looked like
glowing.
an alien or something. It was
weird.
so bizarre, but it was such a cool picture. And I love whenever they find weird images on their pictures because they take like so many, and then you get that one that has like some weird anomaly in it.
Oh yeah, and I like that you mentioned the picture because I think it's a good segue to bring up some of the tech that was in this episode. And I'm gonna need you to mention this tech because, guys, no lie, we had to like rewind it 10 times, and there was no way both of us could have made note of this. So what's it called?
Well, Zach said it so fast. Exactly. Zach said it so fast and it was just so weird. Anyways, and I scribbled it down. It was the gold beryllium subtle energy microphone.
What? I need one.
I know. And apparently this thing has like magnets around it and beryllium crystals inside of it to help create its own magnetic field. And it makes it easier to attract the frequencies.
This is too great with the thunder, man. We hope y'all are digging it the way we are. But no, this microphone. Now, I don't have note that they actually captured anything crucial with the microphone. I could be mistaken.
It's probably where they got some of the EVPs.
Is it?
I don't know. I don't. And I feel like such a bad, like I did bad research on this one. It's just like, okay, all right, guys. Here's the truth. This episode was not on the Travel Channel Go app, which is what we've been using because Travel Channel is supposed to have every single episode, you would think, but it doesn't. So we had to get this one off of YouTube, and the quality was very lacking.
Very, very lacking.
So this episode was a little bit harder to follow because it was like a little choppy. It had lots of ads. So we apologize for, any kind of gaps we may miss.
Oh yeah, no, but that was but still the microphone was brutal. And again, we're always going to highlight the tech because it's so cool. These concepts, like who would have thought to put some stones into a microphone with some magnets and think, yeah, that's going to get some ghosts to talk to you. Like, I don't know. It just blew my mind to hear that and to see that so early on, halfway through the season. We're already using
we're
some
in the
pretty
first
cool
couple
tech.
episodes,
Yeah.
Oh. I just remembered. I think with that microphone is where he caught the moaning, right?
Oh, there was moaning.
Yeah, and it was behind him. And it was so funny because as I mentioned before, it's so dark. Like Zach even says when he's alone in the whole area, he was like, I can't even see if there's anyone next to me. Like if they're 2 inches away from me, I could not see. So I think he's using that microphone with one of the other guys and he hears moaning and he's also kind of losing his direction. And and I think he says something like, I'm not scared. Just tell me where it's coming from. And I love that so much. Just tell me where it's coming from.
Like, nobody knows Zach.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit, dude.
But also, I just can't help but relate to Zach so much in this episode because so when Zach's alone in the hole, he goes on about how he's not really provoking right now because he starts off the episode being a major provocateur, pretending to be a guard. He's like, get back in your cells and shit, right? It's so good. And when he's alone, he's not. And he even mentions, like, I'm not doing that because I'm alone right now.
Yeah.
Usually I'm much more, I provoke more when I have Nick and Aaron with me. And I thought that was so funny that along with when he is with like Nick or Aaron, he's like, I'm not scared. Just tell me where it's coming from. I couldn't help but relate to that because I know that like whenever I experience something in the house or whatever, I call my friends immediately because I'm like, when I'm on the phone with my friends or I've got like Leo with me, I'm like, come at me, bro. Whatever, ghost. But when I'm alone, I'm like, I'm not scared. It's fine. But I'm totally freaked out. So I couldn't help but relate to those sentiments, Zach. Oh, so they also got a picture of like a floating orb.
Oh, yeah, in the Sugar Shack.
Yeah, in the Sugar Shack.
Yeah, there was an orb in the Sugar Shack.
Which was cool because whenever they catch orbs, they're super critical of them and they'll go back and look at the footage, whether it's video or photo. They want to ensure that it's not dust or an insect. And this one floated along in such a weird pattern that it was obviously like not dust or an insect. So that was a cool catch. I love when we catch a good orb because when I was a little kid and we were like first getting, online, some of like the first things you started seeing when you research paranormal, activity are you see orbs, pictures of orbs. And it's so funny to think back on like how many of those were just like dirty cameras and stuff.
Yeah. Everybody's using those disposable Kodak cameras and there's all kinds of shit on those lenses.
So it's cool to whenever they capture a real one and you're like, the satisfaction of like, that's a real orb. So that was a good one. And then I think the cherry on top, was when they went to Reno to and get their EVPs analyzed by EVP specialists.
Oh, yeah. EVP specialists, Mark and Debbie Constantino. And we love the crap out of Mark and Debbie. It's really cool. They introduce themselves. They're EVP specialists. They are doing talks, they're renowned in their field.
Yeah, they travel the world. They travel to universities and stuff and give lectures on EVP, and they have like the equipment to really isolate the voices, the voice phenomena. And it's so great to see them. And like me and Leah were just hit with so many emotions.
Because if you're a Ghost Adventures fan, these names are familiar to you. Mark and Debbie become very pivotal. They become staples in the series. They join the guys on numerous investigations. They have some really good evidence when they're involved in the investigations, like really cool stuff when Mark and Debbie are around. So I think we forgot how early we're introduced to them.
Yeah.
So to see them pop up so early, season 1, and to know that they'll be around for many more seasons, was really excited to see. Bethany mentioned being struck by many emotions because their tale does end kind of tragically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but it was, a tragic end to them. They unfortunately passed away in 2015, and like basically, essentially, it was domestic abuse. They were fighting a lot. Mark committed a murder-suicide.
Yeah.
I don't know a ton of details on it. All I know is that they just were violent towards each other a lot. And some people say it was like money stuff. And I don't know. Whenever I hear about people that are in the paranormal community getting aggressive like that, I can't help but think maybe there was some external, paranormal forces. And maybe it was just greed. I don't know. We don't know their story. Only they know their story. That's why I don't really want to touch too much on it. But we love Mark and Debbie. We respect their work. And it's just really sad to know that happened to them, that, they passed and it's already been like 5 years, which is crazy because it felt like 2 minutes ago. Like, I just feel like, cause they were around for so long. The cool thing for me about Debbie was that like, she kind of seemed to like attract paranormal activity. Like that, I think, to like what Leah was saying, is that every time they're around, they've got really good evidence. And I think a part of that is due to Debbie's sensitivity to the paranormal.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So much. What I I'm not going to say look forward to. I don't know. There's episodes after they've passed, and Zach doesn't go into detail, but he expresses that it had a big impact on him and the crew. But there's actually an investigation that happens later, and Debbie makes her presence known. And I thought that was really touching. Yeah. Almost that they had this connection, and that she was so invested in them, and they were invested in each other, and they believed in each other. And she showed up for the guys, and that was really moving. Yeah. And I'm excited to rewatch that with y'all.
Yeah. And to just, see them pop up, again and again. And like Leah said, it was so early on. Of course, this is the first time we see them. We don't know who they are or anything. Right. And it's not until we see them so many times that we're like, hey, it's Mike and Debbie again, So it was pretty wild for us to see them so early. And I just want to take a minute and really appreciate how fucking badass Debbie is.
Give it up.
I'm sorry. She's just so chingona. Like, look at her. Like, she's got that red hair and that awesome, like, dark lip liner. And she just looks like a fucking baddie. Like, I would never, like, fuck with her. Oh, yeah. But I want to be her friend. Like, you would never want to do Debbie wrong. Like, no. And she's just so smart and articulate and so knowledgeable in the field that she's just amazing. Yeah. I just want to, breathe in the Debbie.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's great. And maybe our most honorable mention in this episode is this pair.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they're actually the ones that hear the laugh in the I Kill You EVP. Mm-hmm. And also Debbie does classify it as a class A. And if Debbie says it's class A, it's class A, damn it. But yeah, they isolate because we hear the I Kill You EVP very clearly, but when they put it into their computer and isolate all the other sounds out, you hear the I kill you giggle, I'll kill you.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. So really good stuff. And again, they mention, Debbie mentions, hey, this is great. You guys got some really great stuff. And for me, and I'm sure for Zach and the crew in this moment in their career, that's really validating to hear. And it's really cool to see them get that validation from outside factors. So
yeah, absolutely. Especially by world-renowned demonologists, and you know what I mean.
So I think with covering the honorable haunts and skimpy scares, that leads us maybe to a little Zach's fashion fall.
I feel so bad for that lady screaming.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. So Zach's fashion fellas. Really, okay, I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Do it.
Zach was 100% perfection in this episode. He was bae head to waist because those
Head to waist.
let me set it up for you guys. All right, he's rocking his spikes, and at this point, I'm all right with it. Clean shave, no facial hair. We're looking good. Nice, solid black tee. Solid, no affliction, nothing else on it. Nice, crisp black bomber jacket. Looking fit, looking right. Mama wants a bite. But then we see his pants, and I get real sad. His pants are just really baggy. They do nothing for him, and he gives him this boxy look, and I'm just not a fan.
Yeah,
So-
again, just that 2008 BS, like leaving the Jinko stage. It's bad.
Yeah, all he's missing is like the chain link belt thing, like with
the
skulls
wallet
on it.
chain.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
used to have that one.
I know.
I hate you. I totally agree though. Like he just looked chef's kiss. Perfect. The only flaw is how baggy his stuff is.
Yeah.
But again, he morphs, later on he gets, into showing off them muscles. He gets them tighter shirts and them tighter jackets. So right now we're wearing the baggy stuff, and that's the only complaint I have. Otherwise, he just looked perfect, immaculate, wonderful.
Oh yeah. That pre-investigation Zach was on point. Now when he goes to meet with Mark and Debbie, we have a fedora hat appearance.
Again, always.
He's rocking a hat that I just cannot buy into, and I'm like, how do you go from bae to this so quickly, Zach? So quickly. But the fedora just bothers me. Now, that's all I had for the fashion notes in this episode. What about you?
Nah, that's all I had. I just wrote perfection.
So I think with the history, the haunts, and the fashions, it's time to rate this baby. Oh,
I'll tell you what.
tell me.
Before this episode was even done, I wrote 5 claws.
Shut up! No way! 5 claws?
5 claws.
Wow. I'm gonna go 4.5 claws.
Oh, you're gonna be like 2 claws. Is it like, bitch? 0.5 claw less.
Yeah, I'm giving it 0.5 less.
For why?
Great question. I think we had some really awesome honorable haunts, some really good moments. But for me, and I do this on the big scale, we visit some other penitentiaries that are just way more extreme. And so for that, I have to knock it down just a peg.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I just had so much fun with this one. Like from the pre-investigation with Mr. Richardson being all wild and, so much juicy evidence and the perfect fashions. And then we get introduced to Mark and Debbie. It was just over the top for me. It was perfect episode.
All right. Sounds good. I mean, ain't no shame in your thing. I like it all. I love all the episodes. If I could give them all 5 claws, I probably would, but there's no fun in that. So 4.5, I'm sticking to it. Moundsville Penitentiary. You did the damn thing.
That was a great episode.
But it made me feel scared, and the thunder, and it's just too much.
I think it's a perfect time for a ritual.
Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the east. Powers of air and invention. Hear me.
Mano, are you listening?
I hear you. It's good. I feel better. I feel like I can face the rest of my day.
Yeah, it's going to be a good day.
So we appreciate y'all taking the time, checking us out.
We hope you enjoyed it and come back to visit us next time.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Bethany, and we're signing off with 2 besitos
From these potitos.